So I'm looking at flight 6 here. All right, there we go, takeoff. Pretty smooth, felt pretty good about that. Got my feet in the stirrups. So the big focus on this one was talking with Willie and really just trying to get efficiency locked in. I was really trying to soar on this one, and so I think I did a pretty good job of that this time around. Really just trying to focus on tucking in my feet, getting my head kind of down a little bit more. I tried bringing in my hands for a little bit here. It didn't really seem to work out too well, so I gave up on that. Super beautiful with this rain again. I'm recording this audio right now on the actual hill, like right where I just landed. I'm looking at the most recent flight here just because it was the most emotional for sure. Yeah, so I saw crow soaring like right before this takeoff. I was really optimistic about the potential of getting some good lift on this flight, and I think that affected the decisions that I made throughout the flight. I just kind of had like a possibly unwarranted confidence that just, you know, lift was going to be everywhere. I definitely got a few pockets through here. I think I can hear the varimeter click a few times throughout this initial part, so definitely gave me some strong hope. But yeah, it was a really good landing and a really good flight, and a really good landing and a really good takeoff. So I can't be mad at the flight overall, but my heart was pounding for like a few minutes in it for sure. Just made some questionable decisions, and you know, felt like I was potentially in a dangerous position more than one time, and not a place I wanted to be. But on the flip side, it was cool being close to terrain. I just wish I had a little bit more energy when I was there close to the terrain. It would have put me at a lot easier state of mind than I was for the flight as it turned out. And so yeah, cleared the antenna tower with a lot more space than that other flight, than flight 5, the previous flight. So I felt really good about that. For a second I was like, oh, maybe I will make it over to the antenna farm, thermal factory area. Didn't happen, but at least flying over it on this initial approach here. So decided to go for the roundhouse here, as we can see. And yeah, so part of, you know, things affecting my efficiency and ending up where I've been ending up on these flights is, you know, I mean, I'm not in a great fitting harness. I'm at kind of a weird angle, and then I'm flying on this Alpha. I think it's a 190, 195 square feet, question mark. And so yeah, I could get a lot better efficiency if I had better gear, but I mean, yeah, like Willie said right after my most previous flight to this one was, you know, sometimes you just hit all the red lights in town, and that's kind of what happened on that first flight of this video, where I just got a lot of sync. Okay, so I just came over the roundhouse there. Sorry, I got a little sidetracked. Looking for a thermal here, seeing what I can find. There's definitely a couple pockets of lift. I was really excited about that. You can see me going up a little bit here. I think I can hear the varimeter clicking a little bit. But I'm not exactly where I should be. I should really be above this stuff to be getting the lift. So there's a couple points in here, like literally point. And so I got a couple like little chunks there, you know, like literally points in the ridge that I'm talking about when I say points here. And so I get a little bit of uptick there, which is great, but it's not exactly what I needed. And I need to get above where the antenna stuff is to like really be doing what I'm trying to do here. It just didn't really have that happen, which is unfortunate. And so yeah, coming in really close here. The fish had to start it a little bit, but I mean, I felt like I was like, could reach down and touch these bushes. It's closer than I would prefer to be, and I'm just not in a great spot for soaring. And so I was getting some lift though, and so I was like, okay, you know, I was feeling a little cocky, a little confident. Like this is my first time getting lift and actually being over in this area. I'm like, okay, I'm doing it, I'm doing the thing, I'm gonna actually get a little lift. And so I'm like, yeah, why not? I'll swing back and get a little bit more, you know. I just did it. I've like right here, I remember this turn very distinctly. I was like, oh yeah, dude, like I can just keep on doing this back and forth all day, like I'm locked in, heck yeah. And I start, you know, right about here, I'm like, well, crap, I'm not getting lift at all. I'm way too low. I'm not gonna hit that peak behind me there, just that I turned away from. And I'm like, well, shoot, I gotta go down to the landing zone now. I'm not getting lift, and I'm like, crap, I'm pretty low now, and lower than I want to be. Like, I can't easily make it over the ridge. You can see if you watch the ridge closest to me and the ridges in the distance that I'm actually not dropping, so I'm getting a little bit of lift, I think, here. Definitely a little bit of lift here, so that's good. Without that, I would have been very screwed, but I mean, the conditions of the day we plan around and to be expected, so not in a totally terrible position, you know, had some hope. But again, it may look like I'm not super low, but fisheye distortion a little bit, like I am very close to the grounds here. I mean, not like 10 feet, but like 100 feet or less. And for the position that I'm in, like, not ideal. Like, not where you want to be. This one, like, I think there's a rock. Yes, that rock, like, I probably passed like less than 50 feet above that rock, and that is too low to be doing that. And that was scary. I was like, at that point, I was like, okay, it's time to really lock in here. I think I key the mic and try to get Willie on the radio here in a little bit. And I'm like, do I go to the emergency landing zone? Like, I'm worried at this point, and I think for good reason.
Yeah, Willie, can you hear me? Should I go?
So, pausing video at, I don't know, right after the Willie segment, helicopter flying right over me. So, I mean, I talked to Willie there. I'm like, hey, should I go for the emergency landing zone? He's like, no, I can barely hear him. It's kind of coming in kind of garbled. And he's like, just follow the ridge. And oh my God, like, I'm like 20 feet from those trees right there. And again, like 20 feet from, like, below the tree. Like, I am low. It looks low now, and like, I am low, dude. Like, terrifying feeling. Like, I feel like I could give those construction workers back there like a high five. Like, it looks and felt extremely low, and it's not where you want to be. And I mean, yeah, I'm like level with these trees. Like, it was insane. Yeah, so I'm low, and it's, yeah, this whole time I'm like looking at the landing zone, like, okay, like, take a deep breath, stay calm, you know, it's a focus situation. Right around here, right over this house, actually, I do distinctly remember, I was like, okay, I got a little bit of lift, and I'm starting to feel like I'm gonna survive and not have to, like, I mean, this whole time I'm like, okay, which tree am I gonna land at? Which bush am I gonna land on? I'm looking at that field right there to the very bottom of the screen on the left. I'm like, okay, I can land in that, that's someone's yard. And then here, I'm starting to get a little tiny bit of lift, and it's kind of bringing me back into the mindset of like, okay, there's hope, like, I'm not gonna die, like, I'm not gonna have to crash land this thing. Because I mean, I was seriously considering going to the abort to the right, the Red Roof hospital type thing, and then now I'm kind of in a more normal landing point here. I'm like, because initially I was like, oh, I'm for sure gonna turn left here and then circle to the right to land into the field. But at this point now I got enough lift, I'm kind of lifting up a little bit more, and I'm like, okay, I can do a regular approach, I can take a deep breath. Just a huge sense of relief. I mean, I still got adrenaline pumping, like definitely adrenaline pumping on this one. And in some regards, you know, it was way more fun than the first flight. I mean, the first flight was very smooth, terrible landing, but very smooth. But this one, you know, it was exhilarating pretty much right after that second, that turn back into where I thought I was gonna be soaring and ended up not. But I mean, at this point now, I'm feeling great. I'm like, I literally say at one point here, and I'm talking over myself, so I can't tell, and maybe I'll put it in, but I literally said, I think I actually yelled, I'm like, I just got away with murder. Like, I felt very lucky and still feel very lucky for how this ended up turning out, because it could have been a lot worse, and it didn't. And I'm very, very, very thankful for that. And shout out to Willie for, you know, being on the voice of the reason on the radio and having me not abort, because that would have been a very bad decision, I think, in hindsight, and just more annoying in general. But yeah, so coming in here, normal landing approach, definitely still a little bit conscious of my height, much shorter, like, downwind, base, and final legs than previously. Pretty sporty turn here. I was pretty stoked though. There's a paraglider on the ground. He said he was like, he thought I was a pro when he saw me landing. Coming in here, pulling in, Okay, relaxing hands for a little bit, maybe half a second, and nice flare and run out there. You know, not a 10 out of 10 landing, but infinitely better than the one earlier today. And just stoked and feeling very lucky with how everything turned out. And, you know, it was a fun, exhilarating flight at the end of the day.